Hey everybody, welcome to the Fringe Podcast, presented by our friends at Imperial Golf. My name is Duke. I am with John, JT, and Brandon, and we're excited. Season 2, gentlemen.
Pumped. Season 2.
Episode 1.
Pumped.
Or 1 squared. Is that a thing?
No. It's still 1.
We're not good at math.
1 squared.
And this is why we're in the golf business.
Yeah. I didn't do well in math.
No math tutoring here.
Okay.
No.
Thank goodness.
I use basic geometry, but it doesn't involve square roots. So
That's true. I mean, really. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of math involved. But,
yes. Yeah.
But not the numbers. Like, you have computers, so it's fine.
Math, practical math.
Math is hard.
Measuring wind and slope and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're really just guessing, right? That's golf. I mean, golf's just guessing.
Well, if you're a bad golfer.
which is pretty much why I'm here. It's fun for me to sit in. I'm excited to join these guys for season 2 because I am the amateur, and so I got a chance to watch season 1. And as I was telling the guys, there's so many times where they started talking about something really cool, and I'm going, I want to know more. And they went, yeah, we talk about this stuff all the time, so let's move on to the next thing. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
And so I'm here to ask your questions, basically. I'm here to be the rest of you because I have only this much idea of what I'm doing. So,
And we have this much idea of what we're doing. So
I give
slightly
you
more
credit for that. But that's all right. But
in our defense, we talk about these things for hours every week, and
Absolutely.
so you get kind of lost in the monotony of it sometimes. It's not that we don't love our jobs. We do.
Yeah.
It's a fun job, but you say a lot of the same stuff over and over, and so you need people to remind you to slow the hell down sometimes.
and I need that every swing. So
Yeah.
it's all good.
Well,
Yeah.
So-
Which to
Nice segue there.
Yeah.
right. No kidding.
Rhythm.
And I was going to say, to give Duke a little credit, I mean, he's an above average talented golfer because you're scoring, what was it, last our conversation, mid 70s to mid 80s is kind of your range these
This
days.
year's been anywhere between 77 and 90. So it's been an interesting year.
Yeah.
Pushing that 10-stroke window a little bit.
Yeah.
Try to stay.
Math's not so good. But
Well, mine's horrible, and I know that. So,
I'm not even drinking today.
yeah, might start
Not yet.
No.
Yeah.
Might have to.
after this.
Might have to,
After
yeah.
I watch it later. Holy shit! We need something strong.
Oh, man. But season 2. We're going to start off season 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good time to start off because there's a pretty sweet golf tournament coming up.
There is.
Yeah.
Also, season 2.
It's
You're
the
correct.
the golf tournament.
The golf
The golf tournament.
The
Right.
So
Imperial
everybody
Golf
on
Tournament.
Facebook, like the Kansas City Facebook group especially, every time somebody says, hey, when's the next tournament coming up? We all need all of you guys to just go ahead and post
Yeah.
the Imperial Golf
Yeah.
tournament, which is really cool, really special.
We're doing our social media posts on the regular and getting all 6 likes every time. So, there's clearly a lot of people
dig at
following
me.
it. But somehow we've had 7 teams sign up. So we're actually beating our likes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is amazing.
Well, one of the teams isn't on social media. So
Yeah. Well, don't burst my bubble.
And I think
Okay.
we're ahead of last year in terms of
So-
signups at this point.
Yes. Yeah. We're actually
Don't
doing
remind me
pretty
of
well.
that. That was
So
a
what-
stressful.
Yeah.
That was a stressful time.
What's the details? What's
Details on the
thing?
tournament. So we are in fact hosting a charity event, and this event is in partnership and in benefit of Watson Links
Yeah.
Golf, which is. If you don't know,
There.
Tom Watson's youth golf organization, it's kind of centered around helping primarily underprivileged youth, but just youth in general, get into golf at pretty much no charge or free of charge. They get mentorship, and they also get tee times purchased for them,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. So raising funds for them just helps kind of drive the ability to attract more kids to golf, and they don't have to worry about the expense part. So that's the purpose of the event, and in building a relationship with Tom Watson as well is always a good thing. So
Yeah.
we're hoping that can continue to grow.
Right.
And the event itself is on September 27th, which is a Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Tournament on a Friday.
Yes,
we
sir.
were adamant to avoid Monday.
That is out of the box.
Yeah.
This is our
I
first
know.
go at a Friday, so we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
people have been overall positive in response, but
Yeah.
every year we've done one has been on a Monday, and everyone's like, well, it's a Monday, and so
Yeah.
we're like, Okay.
They're drinking.
When aren't
because they're-
scrambles
they're
on a Monday?
depressed. But they're- on Friday, they're
Now you
drinking.
can end
'cause
your week drinking.
They're happy
Yeah,
and they're
right.
excited.
Sensing a theme here.
So, to be clear, this is a golf tournament. You're not coming to drink. You're coming to play golf.
Okay.
But have a good time.
We'll have
But have a
We'll
good time, please. And we are getting some sponsorship from Boulevard, which is really cool.
So there will be drinking.
There will be some drinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So September 27th, it's a Friday at Falcon Lakes Golf Club. We are good friends with the guys out at Falcon Lakes, and they've always taken care of us. And it's a great facility. If you haven't been there as a
Yeah,
public
fantastic
course,
course.
it tricks you into thinking it's a private course. Really, it's a nice setup and it's really well taken care of. We're going to tee off at 8 a.m. So it is bright and early. And registration is 7 a.m.
Okay.
Yep.
So, be ready to drink at 7 a.m. I mean, play golf at 7 a.m. So,
We'll have breakfast burritos.
yep, yeah, there will be breakfast burritos.
It's a champagne brunch.
Some Bloody Marys, maybe. I don't know.
There you go.
So, yeah, and it's
For the children.
worth mentioning. We're going to have plenty of food.
Yeah.
We're going to have some
4 a.m.
grab-and-go breakfast in the morning with, coffee and a breakfast
Nice.
bar and stuff like that. One of the bigger highlights is we're going to have really cool gift bags for every player, like proper gift bags. We're going to have some cool swag and cool stuff. And there will obviously be whole prizes and winner prizes and stuff like that at the end of the event. And then we'll do a barbecue buffet spread at the end of the event, which will be really cool too. So it should be hopefully a really, really good event this year.
Is there a Cybertruck for a hole-in-one prize?
No Cybertrucks. I mean, I could draw one
miniature,
on a piece of
maybe?
paper and give it to
Yeah,
somebody.
might get you a model.
Yeah.
The Hot Wheels version.
Yeah.
Roll it out there.
I hope they don't make that in a Hot Wheels.
No offense, Elon.
Yeah.
If you're
Pretty sure they
listening to
already
this,
did.
I'm sure he's heard it.
yeah. He's definitely heard of the Imperial podcast.
Yeah. He owns Twitter. He's heard the critiques. He owns X.
yeah,
that
So
too.
Yeah. We also want to do a quick thanks to our title sponsor. So
Yeah.
we are accruing other hole sponsors, and we appreciate every bit of help that we get from those sponsors. But our title sponsor is the William G. McGowan Fund, which is a charitable fund out of Chicago. And they actually reached out to us to kind of help with the event and fund us in a large way to cover expenses
That's
and just
awesome.
help the donation amount be bigger.
really neat.
Because that's the goal, right? Is to be able to donate as much as we can out of this event.
Yeah.
So thank you to the McGowan Fund.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's super cool. I mean, I was fortunate enough as a kid that we could cover me golfing, but I know that's not a thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, and we've kind of, had a shift in perspective with this foundation because we all had either access or family members who played. I know John didn't have family members who played, but yeah, access to a course.
Well, I
and,
did.
And I had
not many.
uncles and dad and grandpa who all played. Brandon's got some family members who golf, so we got that head start, and it is especially post 2020 we've noticed just an abundance of adults from 25 to 45 who are starting. They're just like, man, I wished I'd have been able to play as a kid or start younger, and I've grown to feel very fortunate that I got introduced to golf at such a young age just because of that, because I could circle back to golf and not be fearful of it, because it is an intimidating game to try to learn, and I've often joked, like, if I had to learn golf as an adult, I don't know if I would have had the patience for it, to be honest, because just starting brand new in your 20, like, I don't know, I already had the foundation.
Well, the problem is you actually think about things as an adult. So, like, you're
True.
more easily embarrassed. And it's like more awkward when things fail. And you feel like you're supposed to know it, even though you don't know it. And it's like silly to have those expectations on yourself. But a scramble event, by the way, is a great way to enter into golf with a little bit more of a carefree approach, and the pressure's not all on you.
Great
And
environment
You
for
just
it.
need one guy, really. Just one
You
person.
just need one guy to compete for sea flight.
I was thinking just to get through the round.
Oh, just to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Sure.
Just to be clear, if you want to win a scramble, you gotta have a team full of ringers for sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
At least three. You gotta have
Yeah.
three good golfers.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I see online about how to make scrambles fair just blows my mind that
Yeah.
that has to be a competition.
I was talking to a student about this earlier. We've often thought about this event and how it could grow into something bigger over the years and stuff, and how someday maybe it is a 2-man scramble, because
Or
those
even
dynamics
best ball
are
Yeah.
they're a lot more fun in that you get you and a buddy, and then but
Sure.
you're in a group with other 2 guys or gals that are playing competitive, so there's some accountability there.
Yeah.
And scrambles, it's just too difficult to keep everyone accountable, and the ones we've been a part of where they like jam 2 foursomes on it's just so slow.
Yeah.
7-hour round.
It's just
I don't want to
brutal.
watch 7 guys hit a golf ball before me. It's like, this didn't take forever.
You might have
Yeah,
wanted to
right.
rethink your career.
One shot. Yeah, right. No doubt. Well, that's probably why I watch 7,000 people hit a golf ball every week.
Right.
So I don't-
Yeah, it is. It's just, and I don't know that there's a great way to do it. I mean, we've seen over the past few summers these teams coming in shooting 46s.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me a break, man. Like, that's just.
You would
know,
need 4 tour pros to do that.
If Bryson and John Daly can't break 50, then what are
That's
we
true.
doing?
That's true.
Speaking of drinking,
I think there's still beer in the fridge.
It's going to be
It's a
skunky.
go for me.
Yeah,
It might be old, but hey, it still works. It's still alcohol. It just
get you
ferments
there.
more.
We get you there.
all right.
It's an aged Hefeweizen.
Actually, fun fact: alcohol doesn't age outside of barrels.
Okay.
So, like, I used to think that
did not
liquor
see this going
would
this direction.
age more if you just kept it in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Doesn't age
Huh.
in a bottle, like properly aged,
I mean,
like
technically,
refined.
it does age, right?
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't
It's
refine.
not older.
It doesn't refine in
get
taste.
more alcoholic.
Okay.
It doesn't. The
It-
taste. It actually gets worse because light breaks down alcohol.
Yeah, it has to
And it
be
turns it
aging
watery.
Tell me more about
in a barrel. And segue into random fun facts from Brandon Tritech.
Brought to you by Boulevard.
Yeah. Oh no, you can't say that.
Yeah.
We'll save it for later.
I mean, we may be telling their secrets. You never know.
Yeah, that's true.
They may be going, stop. Don't tell them how we do
I mean, Wikipedia's out there. I'm
So
sure.
speaking of alcohol, anyways, what were you saying?
I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah,
Derailed.
Tournament. Hey, tournament.
Tournament.
So one more time, September 27th. Show up at 7 a.m.
Yes.
Make sure you sign up for your team online. We have a link directly from our
Don't just
website.
show up. Sign up.
You could if you have cash, but we prefer you sign up ahead of time so we actually know you're coming.
Yeah.
But you go right onto the imperialgolfkc.com website, and there's right on the front page, there's a link to it. There's an event caddy link where you can actually sign up as a single or as a team.
Okay.
You can do whole sponsorships if you want to. We're still looking for more whole sponsors via businesses. So
The more the better.
Yeah.
yeah, get signed up. Show up at 7 a.m. on the 27th at Falcon Lakes Golf Club.
What a cool opportunity for. I mean, you get to sponsor Watson Links.
Yep.
You get to put your name out in front of people who golf like you. I mean, that's actually a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, and we hang banners or post banners throughout the course, and so we try to give a little more proper thanks to the sponsors than just putting a little whole sign out there or something. We want people to see their logo and know that they're helping the event, and that hopefully helps drive business for local businesses as well. So
You bet.
yeah.
It's going to be a fun time, and the swag this year is going to be pretty cool. I'm actually excited to receive some things myself. So
Yeah.
it's like,
I thought about sneak peeking towels. I don't know if we should do that on the podcast. We should leave that.
we'll
leave
save
that
that for
off.
the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really are going to have some cool stuff. So I think that's all there is to say about the
awesome.
tournament, I guess, right?
I
Yeah.
Covered
know.
those.
Is there
That's about
anything
it.
else you want to say about the tournament?
I think so.
What was the winning score last
I'll
year?
think of something when it
remember?
doesn't matter anymore.
I will say
doesn't matter.
this year's tournament is being. It doesn't matter.
It matters to 4 people,
Yeah.
I promise.
Right.
Like the 28th, I'll think of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to add, it is on my 40th birthday this year, which is a
Okay.
bit bizarre.
Oh, man.
So,
All right.
yeah, hitting whole new decade.
Yeah.
We'll have some fun.
Cupcakes for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't do sugar now that I'm old, so. You can bring carrot cake, maybe.
Well, you
I don't know.
can. It's a choice.
I can, yeah. It's true.
Give you birthday
I'll eat it
celery
anyway.
Bloody Mary?
Yeah.
Something.
We'll find a way. I don't know.
You kind of took all the fun out of turning for you there.
Yeah.
Is it fun?
I don't
wouldn't
know.
know.
Later, I'll tell you the story of my 40th birthday.
Okay.
Well, you're still here, so that's
Yeah.
No,
survived it.
There was no, definitely no. Well, see, now I have to see, now you got me.
Let the audience know more
that was
about
my
you,
evil
dude.
plan.
No, my sister-in-law passed away a couple of days before my 40th, so we ended up having to travel back, and her funeral was on my birthday, so it
Oh.
was quite the unexciting 40th birthday.
I see.
Yeah.
I hope mine goes better than that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, if nobody dies, it's a good day.
Yeah, that's a
Literally.
good point.
Wow.
That's a good point.
Sombering.
Anyway.
I thought we were about to hear some crazy drunk story, and that's where that went.
That's why I wasn't going to go there.
Oh, my
You
gosh.
pushed me into it, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
welcome. Thank you.
I'm now gonna regret everything.
I
Go home and
got
cry into my
nervous
pillow.
tick and everything.
I know. I'm sweating really bad right now. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my goodness.
No, it's fine.
This is what therapy is.
This
Yeah.
is life. I mean,
Yeah.
this is part of life, right?
Right. It is,
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Therapy involves beers. While
Can.
you're learning how to stop
can.
drinking.
I don't think that's actually true.
Oh,
You
okay.
might be doing
Pretty-
it wrong.
pretty sure.
Oh, well, maybe.
You may need a new coach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I should
life
know
coach.
something about that.
I would change Reddit threads.
You are not following the process. That's all I know.
Oh, my gosh.
So speaking of the process,
Ah, I hear that
Hey,
word every
heard
week.
that one.
hey,
Because it comes
Caught
out
you
of my
there.
mouth
I know,
constantly.
right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's on our website.
The process
Big
is
bold
Right across the
letters.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
can't miss it.
Okay. So why is process important? Like what?
Ooh, we're getting deep.
I mean, big
Deep.
picture. Big picture.
Yeah, big
Big
picture.
picture, process. I mean,
Accountability.
this doesn't actually apply just to golf. It's just allowing yourself to have structure and kind of a bigger picture view of what you're trying to accomplish. We always, or at least I do, make the equation from golf to like fitness stuff. I feel like people can wrap their heads around, fitness goals a lot more simply than just, well, what does improving a golf game look like?
Sure.
And a process that we're trying to, help people apply is just taking off bite-sized pieces that are digestible, and especially for adults, it's so easy to just get in the weeds reading through, blogs, threads, watching online content that's just so available now.
That's called a lack of process.
And so you're kind of flapping in the wind trying to discover some things, which at one point we all were. We were all in those areas of like trying to obtain knowledge and grow as players. And so now, it's easy to kind of pull those reins in for people and help them out. And obviously I got to the luxury of working with you, Duke, and it's someone who had already developed an above average skill set, I would say. You still needed some of that guidance to kind of find your path.
Zing!
I mean, I'll let you comment on that.
I'll let you say how bad you were.
But what I never really get tired of is the watching someone's thought process get really organized, because that doesn't show up on camera.
Yeah.
The visuals are there for you. It's very helpful that we use camera work because it just cuts through the miscommunication possibilities, right? It's very easy content to cover once you break it down. I don't feel like I've ever struggled with a golfer who didn't understand the stuff we were discussing. But just how to apply it was always the big issue, right? And so I think that's where, we've really done ourselves well as an institution, is just sticking to that foundation.
It's also really easy in 2024 not to have process, thanks to social media and YouTube.
Sure.
Because you can learn a lot, but if it is a long-term process that's necessary, YouTube, for example, just gives you lots of random videos, and none of those people know who you are.
Sure.
So it's very easy to just want to watch a bunch of different videos and try to figure out some kind of salad bowl to put that all together and mix it together and work on it on the range. You have no real aim of what you're doing. So that's the point of process, is that you have a coach to kind of lead you through steps, because there are steps to how you improve a golf swing.
Yeah.
It's not random. You can't just pick something that looks cool and start working on it.
Yeah, I'm glad all my development happened when I was younger, before internet and YouTube were around.
Yeah.
It was all in magazines, and
Yeah.
I didn't like to read, so
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
get all that random
I can't
crap
read.
and
Yeah.
try and apply it on my own. I would be much more of a head case than I even am now.
I'm with you on that. I'm grateful. Most of my development came right before social media and YouTube kind of exploded with golf, because I definitely would have been guilty of that for sure. It's really easy to do.
Golf entertainment is like, that's good, right? If you want to watch good, or you want to watch guys play golf on the course and have fun and you learn about game management, that's positive stuff.
Sure.
But avoid the swing videos and all the instructional tips. And
they don't work, huh?
They just, no.
Huh. Weird.
No.
Okay.
Especially when it applies to the swing mechanics. We're pretty loose with people on how you look at, putting and chipping and game management stuff. There's some things you can learn on your own, but when you're trying to build a routine and it revolves around you having a crappy golf swing, it's really helpful to have a coach for that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. When I met you guys, I had, I've been playing for a couple decades now, which is sad to say. But I'd learned through high school. Then I kind of backed off as I had kids and was working and all the things that made it so I don't have time to golf. And as my kids now are teenagers and older, I'm starting to play a lot more again. And I'm going, man, I'm all over the place. Right. And the most brilliant things you guys have ever done is this silly Groupon for a swing analysis. Right? It's such an easy way to come in and just test the waters.
Yeah.
And go, okay, are these guys actually going to be able to help me?
Yeah.
Because that was my anticipation is these guys, there's no way in just like a little bit of conversation they're going to actually be able to fix me. And so coming in and as terrifying as it is, watching my swing on video, and even at this point, JT actually did it the other day because the last couple of rounds have been rough. And my first swing, he's like, hey, come back here for a minute. Look at this. What do you see? I'm like, it's like the same things you talked about when we started Process a year ago.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
I slipped back in.
Yeah.
And that bothers a lot of people. But you need to learn.
Yes.
You need to learn that that's normal, and a little bit of reversion here or there is okay, and to come back to the process is okay.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
But that's where the process is key, because that's for me. Just coming in, and I actually came in. I think I started October, if I remember right. So I took a winter, and I was just after the summer. I was just really tired of things.
Yeah.
So I started coming in October. And between coming in here and then that winter, I actually got a pass at tee shots. So like every day for lunch,
I remember that. Yeah.
I'd go hit balls for 45 minutes. It was great. It was the best lunches I've ever had. But just coming in here, working that process, hitting all the balls, and just trying to repeat.
Yeah.
Like I came in trying to get consistency, and the thing that started freaking me out is like all of my clubs gained 25 yards, which is not what I needed.
Sorry, not sorry.
But it was, all of a sudden it turns out I start swinging better and the ball goes farther. Weird.
The efficiency discussion, that's kind of just the byproduct we talk about, because we don't open the discussion with like, hey, we're going to gain yardage for you. There's plenty of that online. But if you make a golfer efficient and you kind of leverage what they do well and try to help minimize what they don't do well, I won't say eliminate, because we're human. And I had a driver lesson with John 3 months ago, just because I'm telling him like I'm standing over it, not really certain which direction this is going, and it boiled down to my ball position and being in the wrong spot, and I'm just like, really, like that's what this came down to, and so
always simple.
I've talked about this a few times in the last few weeks, and how the arc of a golfer is you kind of start with fundamentals if you're brand new. You start to understand the mechanics, you get to where you have a fairly rounded golf swing, and then you circle back to the fundamentals indefinitely. And that's kind of where you reside. You're just constantly trying to perfect those foundational things and keep them sharp, so that you kind of know where your alignment and your start line and your finish lines are when you're hitting golf shots. I had a playing lesson yesterday, missed a few shots with wedges, and so went into the simulator and set a drill up for myself to kind of focus on that stuff. And that's the fun part now, being on this side of it for the last decade plus, is I, as a player, don't hit that panic button. I'm kind of like, well, let's wait and see if this is a trend. or was my back just tight, or did I sleep wrong, or was this okay? Now this is 3 or 4 rounds of this. Okay, what's going on? And that's kind of the time where I pulled John aside. I'm like, hey, I'm like this close to recording myself, which he knows that's a red flag. I'm not allowed to do that
Don't
anymore.
do it. It's like a drug. Don't record yourself.
You know, like I
coach
got to
do
record
it.
my swing, John. Like you get okay. Like let me, you know. And then what's great is, I mean, he's
Brandon.
Yeah.
I only do it like twice a week.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Right.
Only twice a week.
So it's just great to kind of reflect on where all of us really came from, you know, as weekend warrior amateur type golfers who were just passionate, wanted to get, you know, better at golf. And because of that, I feel like as coaches, we all identify with guys like yourself who come in, they're just like, I don't know where to go right now. I don't know where to like work on things, or I don't know where to start, so to speak. And that's really fun to kind of help people get that process organized for themselves and make them self-sufficient so they don't need you all the time, long term.
Well, and I'll admit, I was one of those people who was reading articles and watching videos, trying to find an answer. And it's funny coming from our drinking comments earlier. It was like the first step to recovery was admitting I have a problem and seeking help.
By the way, we are therapists.
Well,
we're not just golf coaches.
Yeah,
Things.
part-time.
Part-time.
Yeah.
That's kind of what golf is, right?
Yeah.
But no, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But no, I think for me, one of the things I couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't. I needed another perspective. I needed somebody who could see it, somebody who knew enough about it to be able to look and go. Because all the things that I was chasing turned out not to be the big problems.
Right.
But I wasn't going to ever find that.
All symptoms. Kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's common, and that's why we tell people to, you know, stay away from YouTube. It's not because it's all wrong content. They're just going to get a lot of pieces. It's like, do this with your elbow or straighten your arm or whatever it is, and it's not looking at the big picture of, like, how are you controlling your entire body?
Right.
And you're trying to fix it with, like, you know, these little idiosyncrasies
Right.
that'll go away if you pay attention to the actual problem,
Yeah.
which is more efficient.
That's what stands out to me with online stuff is so much attention is paid to wrists, hands, club positions.
Where do you put it?
And not enough is paid attention to body sequence, which
Yeah.
I don't know that it would change results, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the analogy I always give people, even though there's a million of them on the internet as well, is with YouTube, you're kind of studying the golf swing, not yours. And so it's really difficult for you to translate that information, find the one detail that does apply to your golf swing, and then lastly, also execute it while you're training something that's supposed to feel uncomfortable and new.
Right.
Because in here, you know, people like, okay, even a grip, like a grip change I did today, and it just, the player's like, yeah, this feels so out of, you know, my comfort zone. I'm like, good, like this is normal. You're here to be uncomfortable for a while.
Right.
And then after a few weeks, which really doesn't take long, if you're repeating this stuff consistently, you won't think about it.
Sometimes hours. If it's like intensely
Yeah.
focused practice.
Yeah.
Right.
Grip changes, you've been using that a lot as an example because it's like the polarizing topic in golf is grip changes. And everyone makes a huge deal about it. God forbid you have to make a grip change because it's so uncomfortable. It's going to be terrible forever. And it's just like not that big a deal if you're intensely focused on it. In a few hours, you start to feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
The problem is most people quit after 10 minutes because it feels so awful.
Well, and they
don't wanna
run
stick
right
with
to
it.
full
Yeah,
swings.
it's hard. Yeah.
They do a grip change,
Like,
grab
hit
7
driver.
iron and hit just smoke one, and they're like, oh, that feels weird. Like, no shit.
How about a 30-yard wedge?
Yeah, like hit a chip shot well first.
Start small.
You know, like that's it. Did you guys get through grip changes?
What's that?
I've done 2 grip changes in my entire career.
Okay.
That was my whole thing a year and a half ago.
Well, yeah, you had gotten
That was a grip
too
change.
strong,
Yeah, over time I had gotten too strong, had to weaken
but
it.
you've largely been interlock your
My whole life.
Whole life.
And
Okay.
I got strong for, we won't go into all the reasons because of
Right.
physical stuff and
Right.
issues, but it became a trigger too. So
Yeah.
so my grip change was much harder for the trigger function than it was
Right.
the like just changing the hand and putting it in a different position.
Yeah.
Trigger means like you have a quip or like a movement that you do to start your swing that's purely subconscious.
Yeah, yeah.
So like
waggles.
What's common in strong grips is a forward press trigger.
Huh.
So you'll press and then regrip.
Okay.
But you do it in like a half second, and you don't think about it until someone points it out, and then you realize you're like insanely strong, and the whole time you're like, why am I snap hooking the ball all the damn time with driver? And then you look at it on video and it's like, oh geez. So the hard breakdown there is not fixing the grip, but fixing the trigger that leads to the grip. Which is
well,
actually,
for you it was, yeah.
for anybody. Like the triggers are so hard written.
Yeah.
That's the part that just kills you.
Yeah.
And so then I had to build a takeaway process that started killing that.
Yeah.
So I'd build a new trigger on top of just fixing the grip position.
Yeah.
But
Well, today, as I was getting stuff set up in here, it was funny because I had to chuckle because I heard you tell a student something that JT was telling me last year. As he's
remember what I said about monotonous and repetitive?
No, not that one. But last year, as we're making changes that we're super uncomfortable, and I'm swinging, I'm going, man, I'm hitting the ball terrible. And I heard you tell somebody today, it's like, you're too focused on contact. You're too focused on what the ball is doing.
Yes.
Your swing actually is looking better now. Yeah, you're not hitting the ball right yet, but you're not there yet. But that's the process.
But that's because you just took 2 swings doing what I told you to do.
Well, I should only need one.
Yeah. But that's a good point. Like people
Don't encourage them, Duke.
The problem. Don't even get me started.
Oh, my
Yeah.
word.
That's the process. I mean, right?
Yes, but on the surface, if you tell someone not to care about ball contact, it does sound kind of ridiculous.
He did it to me often.
Yes, but it's what you have to do. You have to ignore the ball, focus on the motion. The contact will come.
Yeah.
Again, that's what we harp on so much is that we're so responsive to the ball. And as an amateur, and I can empathize with this because this is the way I learned, self-taught for the first 10, 15 years that I played, is I felt like good contact, good swing, it's grooved,
Yeah.
whatever, and it's so
That's
baseline, so, it's just such a neutral thought process that you don't really dive into. And then when that's your whole world as an amateur, and then someone tells you, yeah, contact doesn't matter, you're just like,
blows up your world.
okay, so what does, and they can't really process movement yet, so they're not thinking through upper half, lower half stuff. And often, man, I'm just asking questions to get the brain to register, like, hey, what did you notice with your lower body? What did you notice with this stuff first? And it's a much longer process than people want it to be. Like always, they're just golfers are perpetually impatient.
Yeah. And often not completely in tune either.
Right.
So one thing
Right.
you realize over time is they're just not paying attention most of the time.
Yeah,
They hit a lot of golf balls kind of half in it, but not really.
Yeah, and
Like,
which
are
I
you
was
even paying attention to what you're feeling.
I was
Well,
routinely guilty of.
And that was one of the things that because I'm, going to tee shots for lunch every day. And that was one of the things you actually got after me about. You're like, don't hit balls for more than 30 to 40 minutes. Like if you hit more than 100 balls, I need you to stop immediately because that's no longer helping you, which made no sense to me. But again, process.
Yeah.
Well, there's a time and place, so it's not just
I don't think it's the
don't
number
hit
of-
range balls.
Yeah, it's not the number of balls.
And for me, I'm giving somebody structure. So much of what we do is helping a player practice better.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
going and hitting hundreds and hundreds of I did that for like 3.5 to 5 years where it was, okay, I have time, so I'm going to go beat golf balls. And when I reflect on that time, the first 20 minutes were pretty productive. The last 120 minutes, because I had time, were nonsense. I'm like, oh, can I hook it around that flag to this flag? Can I, I'm bored trying to hit golf shots. And so there's just not a lot of structure that's applied. Whereas what that looks like now, I'll use my long irons because that's the last thing I was really working on here recently. I'll grab a 4 and a 5 iron, I'll get a small bucket of balls, and I'll set up rows of 12 each, and I'm going to walk through each one like it's a tee shot, and I'm going to pick a green, and I'm going to hit a shot, and I'm going to kind of catalog what those 12 shots looked like with my 5 iron and what those 12 shots looked like with my 4 iron. That's really the only way you can be productive on a driving range is if you're looking at, your whole process and walking your routine through every time. And I use the ball per minute rule. So if I'm hitting 30 golf balls, it better take me a minimum of 30 minutes, which sounds not that fast or slow or whatever, but it's because I'll stand either side of somebody and they're hitting 8 balls a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
Speed golf.
Yeah, we lovingly call that rapid fire Bob. It's just like one after another, and there's nothing being registered.
It's not that the amount of reps itself is bad, though.
No.
Like, to be clear, it's the
But they
loss
gotta
of
be good reps,
it's
right?
the loss of structure.
Yeah.
So it's like if you could somehow maintain intentionality and a process for 3 hours and hit 1,000 balls.
Props
like,
to you.
Like be our guest. Like, do that.
Sure.
The problem is like, especially the typical guy, after 30 minutes, you're like, yeah, I'm checking out. This shit's, expired. So you have to, like, you're better off. What he's saying is you're better off having intense quality for a short amount of time than just like wasting your time for 3 hours.
Well, and let's be real.
Yeah.
The vast majority of our student base is career,
Not hitting 3 hours.
family. They've got one round a week and maybe 30 minutes of practice. That's like the ideal scenario for the majority of our clients, right?
Sure.
So when we're cutting through, okay, what do you have time for?
Yeah.
It's also really productive. So they don't need to be fearful of, well, I don't have 2 hours to get to the driving range. Great. I don't need that from you. I'd like 10 minutes a day where you just grab a club at home and try this drill I'm going to give you. Then when you do have time, here's what to look for. Here's what you need to be doing, because that's what's going to affect this. And then go play golf. And if it's not ready yet, don't apply it on the darn golf course, please. Like, there's an install phase too, which we can spend more time on down the road. But this whole idea of teaching people how to practice is a big part of this whole process.
Yeah.
And just blasting range balls
And it
doesn't change results.
It is more delicate for that person because of time. So
Right.
you can't make direct comparisons between yourself as a weekend golfer and a tour pro. Like, your process is gonna have to look different as a weekend golfer.
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it's gonna have to.
All right.
So-
And I personally can attest to the effectiveness of sticking to a process versus just beating balls. Because when I first moved down here, I'd been working insurance for 8 years, and I hadn't really had time or money to invest in golf at all. So I'd been playing like maximum 5 rounds a year for 8 straight years, after having played like 40 to 50 rounds a year for the 10 years before that. And so my swing was of low quality and just had a lot of, even some of the basic fundamentals, I kind of fallen off the wagon just because, I'd practice 2 hours once a weekend.
Right.
And then play maybe 9 holes every other week. It's kind of, that was all I was able to do for 7 or 8 years. And then coming down here and just seeing my swing for the first time on camera after that time period of having no training, doing no drills other than literally just beating golf balls at the driving range as fast as I could. That was my entire process. And trying to, I sliced 2 in a row. I'm going to try and draw the next 2, just kind of basics of shot shape. And there's my target. I'm going to hit 10 balls at that. And just really having no structure. Yeah, pretty much. Once I started actively working on certain habits, developing better range habits, spending more time training versus actually executing, like practicing. I'm working on, specifically for me, it was weight shift and rotation, lower body wise. Had a lot of struggles there where I would just pivot like a baseball player and didn't get a whole lot of forward movement with the hips, so I would just snap hook most of my shots.
Impressively.
And you're powerful.
Yeah.
So when they hooked,
I had a lot of
they
rotation.
hooked hard.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I had a lot of speed.
Yeah, the Duke knows about
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
different
just,
reasons, but yeah.
right. Sticking to a process and just going through just repeating the motions, making the right movements.
Yeah.
At first I would do that for like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is boring. And then just go back to my old habit of just hitting ball after ball,
It's
trying
tough,
to
man.
accomplish that, what
It's
I've been
tough.
working
It's
on.
way more fun to live on the edge emotionally. I want to go back to that.
But then once I slowed it down, took my time, started focusing more on the motions, doing them consistently every day, just even 5-10 minutes, versus spending an hour or 2 every weekend just hitting 200-300 golf balls.
Yeah.
I saw a much more drastic improvement very quickly And it wasn't without its setbacks either. It was, hey, 70% of my swings now have this characteristic I've been trying to implement. And then I go back 2 weeks later, it's like 20% of my swings have this character I've been trying to implement.
Right.
And just, it's like, well, just stick with the process, keep doing the same, change up drills every now and again just to work on the same thing, but just to keep it fresh, keep it new, take my time. And it was like 8 months before it was a constant, significant part of my swing, where it's like 90% success rate.
Yeah.
And that 10% is the oddity now, where it's like 9 out of 10, do it right. That 1%, yeah, some of those old habits are still there. And I've even seen them resurface. It's been another year and a half. And I've seen some reversion to where I was in that 8-year span where I wasn't playing golf to the last couple years where I've spent a lot more time practicing and playing more than I ever have. So it's, yeah, like we were talking about earlier, you're going to fall back into old habits.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to at least, get regular time for someone to look at your swing and say, hey,
Yeah.
remember when you used to do this? Well,
Yeah.
it's starting again. Let's go back and into the process. We'll start over, do it again,
Yep.
and just keep doing it over and over again until
Yeah.
it's consistent again. And you,
Which is another form of improvement in that
Right.
you identified it and now you connect the dots faster.
right. Yeah, it's easier the second time to go back through and say, hey, I've worked on this before. I know what to do.
Yep.
And it's,
You've
You
been
know-
down that path.
so like I said, some of the old habits came back earlier this year after not playing over the winter. And instead of 8 to 9 months for it to become normal, it was like 3 weeks. Just because I'd been there before, I knew what to do. And it was just sticking to the process for a shorter amount of time because success came a lot more quickly the second time around.
Yeah.
Which is the ultimate reason to have a process.
Right.
Because now when you come back to it, you fix things way quicker. You went through the hard work early on, and now you got something you can rely on that eventually you may not even need a swing coach for. You just know what to
Until
do
you
yourself.
break it again.
No, Mr. Cynical.
No, but we talked about it. You do tend to revert, right?
Yeah, but
So
the
you still need the
percentages,
feedback.
but he's given the percentages, like the reversion does become a lot less.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
becomes a lot less severe.
Yeah.
So sure, you do, but like it's way less of a deal.
Yeah.
Isn't that the point?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like,
I mean, it's like-
suddenly I was snap hooking every single
Right, it's not
shot
a full
again.
reversion to like
It
the
was
first
like
days.
Well, it used to be
Yeah.
90.
It's like-
1 out
I'm
of 10 I'd
getting
snap hook. Now it's like I'm getting back to 3 out of
Yeah,
3
but
out of
that's-
10. Hey, let's get back up to that 90%.
That's what people don't get
Yeah.
about process, though. They're waiting for a day where they don't have to work on this stuff at all. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, that never happens.
Yeah.
But what happens is the margins get way small enough that it doesn't affect you nearly as much. And it's way easier to make fixes and changes.
Well, you start
And then it's
realizing
easier to play
misses or
golf.
aberrations or just bad days. Like I've
Yeah.
always kind of pointed at the Oosthuizens and the Adam Scotts and just like, how in the world do those dudes ever hit a bad golf shot? Like perfect body chemistry, perfect playing, like
Mental game.
rhythm, but they do. They hit bad golf shots. And so if you just understand, to John's point and Brandon's point, like you find yourself in a spot where you kind of know your tendencies and there's going to be 2 or 3 you're paying attention to. But that's a lot shorter list than the dozen you started with. And I have that. I have a couple things that I'll find on the golf course, and I can either make the adjustment or I can play the ball flight. Because that's your only option on the golf course. You're not fixing anything mechanically. You need to get around it. And I would say from 15 years ago as an amateur, that just one bad hole and I'd melt mentally. Now it's okay. One bad swing, great. Let's figure that out. Can I make the adjustment? Next hole, nope. All right. Well, we're going to something that gets me in play off the tee, and we're gonna get this thing around 18 holes as quick as we can. And then I'll address it when I can actually see what's happening, and so there's just, for me, to get away from any analysis that's happening mentally on the golf course was like the best thing that I could have ever done as a golfer. Because it is purely just, can I just go score? Can I just get it in the hole? If there's any issues, I'm going to make some notes afterwards. I do detailed stats. I'm looking at that stuff, so I know what to practice. But I'm not emotional about it as best I can. I'm trying to just be very pragmatic about the things I need to work on.
Yeah, and then when you're at Imperial working with your coach, where it is the place to be analytical.
Right.
It's learning to be okay with the repetitiveness, as much as we joke about it, and we have to say the same crap over and over every week. But better it be repetitive than you constantly discovering something brand new. That would be way worse.
Yeah,
If you
and-
couldn't pin anything down.
Right.
So it's better to at least have to be like, okay, I've been through this before.
I spent some time with a student today talking about this, in that I'm not here to just give you new information each time. The first couple years of my career, I was really guilty of that, feeling almost like a responsibility that they needed to learn something new. But there's a difference between learning something and grasping a concept, and I think what I'm trying to make sure of is, if we just spend 9 weeks together and you learn these two things and you know them inside and out, we're good. Rather than you having this big picture of your golf swing, and by the end of those 9 weeks, you're kind of no better off.
Yeah.
Which is what YouTube videos do to you. You have a lot more
Yeah,
knowledge,
right.
but you're not necessarily any better.
Sure.
You can, you can run into that very easily.
Yeah.
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 So you just said, 9 weeks you do this. Like, so what, average guy, average girl, I want to get better. I want to get more consistent. I want to shave 5 strokes. What does that look like?
I would say, big picture, give yourself 6 to 12 months. Always.
Okay.
Mainly because now our programs kind of fit within those time frames. But I think far too often, adults especially are guilty of this more so than kids. Kids are more in the moment. Just like, oh yeah, got to learn this. Adults are like, well, I need to get better now. I got a
old,
tournament
man.
in 3 weeks. I got this scramble. I got this. I got that. And I'm like, yeah, your progress doesn't really care what your schedule looks like, unfortunately. And so I'm more interested in just, what does your progression look like over time? It takes time to develop that. It takes time, and we're invested in those things. The whole reason why we do repeat ourselves is because I want you to learn it. I want you to know it, and not just like, I'm not going to coach at you. I want you to understand your golf swing. And the concept is kind of easy when you get to see it on camera. But as you've experienced, as we've all experienced, concepts are great. Getting your body to follow suit, that's unique
Mastery is
to
a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's all. That's a timeline that even 12, 13 years into this, I'm terrible at handicapping. Everyone learns differently.
Yeah.
So it's hard to just put give us 35 days and you'll be.
Well, partly because everybody's different too.
Yeah.
And it's not just everyone learns different. That's kind of inherent. It's the schedule thing that we were talking about. Like, how much are you going to play? How much are you going to practice? Like, how
matters.
fast are you going to help us reinforce this?
Yeah.
So it's hard to have a set timeline. And I mean, with the new programs we're developing, we're actually looking at it more as a bit of a time frame, if you will. So instead of just telling people you're going to come in here for 16 weeks, we're saying that we're going to have 4 programs of varying intensity levels that give you a time frame of 4 to 6 months to complete. So it gives a little bit of breathing room for the client so they can kind of move and adjust how they need to, whether it be for their golf game or personal reasons or whatever. But to have still a pretty set regimented schedule with us that isn't completely open.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we don't want ever, is we don't want someone to just buy a lesson or multiple lessons and just show up whenever they want. That's not helpful.
10
Right.
months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, don't get me started. There are expirations on these programs. So
new programs coming this fall, but you guys have
Yeah.
actually obviously you guys have a lot of experience in this stuff. So you have some guidelines for this. So talk about the programs a little bit and how you think that's going to help people move forward.
Well, the thing that John kind of touched on there is currently the way they're structured is there's yearly and quarterly. You've got the 3 tiers of varying intensity levels, and what we noticed was that the yearly stuff just was a really rare occurrence for us from a setup standpoint. A lot of times it was the competitive high school or college level player that's trying to trend on a yearly calendar, and that's kind of their one sport. And in Kansas City, you're just not seeing a ton of that. And so this has honestly kind of been in the back of our minds for several years. It's just now finally coming to fruition. But by a mile, that 4 to 6 month window is what we've seen be really, really successful. It's digestible for both student and coach as well. And it's a small enough time frame, people can wrap their head around it, they can sink their teeth into it, and beyond just the 16 weeks, there was far too many conversations with people of just like, well, if it's more than that, is that okay? And we're like, well yeah, but we're trying to keep you accountable here.
Yeah.
And so to give them a variation of like, well, if we do this amount of, work in a 4 to 6 month window, then we'll see where you're at and kind of see how you develop from this. And so, yeah, we're kind of just streamlining it, really. Make it easier to comprehend, just baseline reading if you're just stumbling on our website. So hopefully, there's always going to be, but hopefully there's fewer questions about that stuff. And then it just allows us to be a bit more versatile with how we're applying it.
But the importance of the swing analysis, and as you discovered it on Groupon as an option, is that the swing analysis is a little bit of that assessment. And we're at this point, I think, pretty good at reading people and being able to tell what they need.
Yep.
And it is the client's job to try and trust us as best as they can. We're going to be honest with you and tell you what you need and not anything more. But that analysis is really part of that assessment of I can better gauge where a person's going to be in a program of 4 to 6 months after I've done that 1 hour analysis. Because I can already get an idea of how fast do they learn in 1 hour. And so that gives me some kind of idea of, okay, now I can kind of predict with some accuracy where you'll be with a committed process 4 months from now, because that does vary for each player a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I walked out of there mildly frustrated because some of the stuff he was just like, look, we got to deal with this and we can do this. And I'm just going, come on, it can't be that simple. Like all the work I've done,
you wanted more.
It's like, well, we need to put your posture in this. I'm going, posture.
Your wife tells you about posture.
She doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But
she will now.
She will. She may not watch this.
She may not know I'm doing this.
But it's possible. But
she's going to be the 7th follower. You just wait.
Man,
that'll be my mom. My mom supports me. No, walking out of there, seeing it on video. I mean, like getting the feedback, seeing it on video, and going, "Oh, I can actually do this."
Yeah.
Like I got excited. Once I got past the stupid little frustration of I'm an idiot, I couldn't figure this out on my own. Which I'm not.
We're dealing with self-talk.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the next lesson. But no, it was I got excited. I got hope. Because it there was actually something solvable, and that all came out of an hour, which is crazy to me. That in an hour, he could point some things out. He could prove it to me on video. Email me the video. I could sit there at home and watch it and go, I'm an idiot. I can do this. I'm an idiot. I can do this. And I think I signed up for a whole package, a whole session, within a couple of days because it was that hour proved to me. So if you haven't ever done a swing analysis or you haven't had somebody just even come with you, it's such an easy entry. Anytime the Facebook groups come up and go, I'm looking for lessons, it's go do the analysis.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'll know in an hour
whether
you can get there, whether these guys can talk to you, whether it's the easiest hour you'll ever have because you'll walk out excited.
Yeah, and outside of that initial session, everything else we do is our 30-minute sessions. And we often get asked about that, why aren't they longer? And frankly, they just don't need to be. If you have a person with you for intense focus of 30 minutes, obviously we want to make sure you're here on time and early, maybe to warm up a little bit. But if you're here for that 30 minutes, that's more than enough time for us to get a concept across, build a process for it, whether there's drills or whatnot. After that 30-minute session, it starts to hit that redundancy phase of us repeating ourselves over and over again. And
plus, if you're getting older like me, your swing just starts to go down.
And you're not paying attention too. And So I think the other element of the programs that's probably worth mentioning is just streamlining it, like you said, but also there's a seasonality to it. So instead of doing, a year-long option and a quarterly option, it just kind of simplifies it to you're now going to commit to a program through a season of the year, and for varying reasons. You might want to have a winter program, for instance, because your swing is kind of broken and there are a lot of flaws, and maybe it would be better if you worked on this while you're not playing a lot of golf. And so then you can just have a weekly process that's focused on the mechanics, and maybe not the most exciting part of golf, but it preps you for the next season much more properly. Or maybe you want a summer program because you're more in the middle of learning how to score and the mechanics aren't as big of a deal for you. And so you can treat it more like that it's a learning process of how to actually put scores together and manage the game. So the seasonality aspect, I think, is alluring as well. Yeah.
Which, speaking on seasons, it'll be all available on the website for you guys to read through October 1 of this year. So we're not pushing this to a January 1 start date. We wanted to kind of roll this into this winter season, so that we can kind of get everyone ahead of next spring, going into March, April of next golf season in 2025. So once we wrap up our golf tournament, you'll see all the updates, programs, literature through the website October 1. It'll be there for you to read through. And like Duke said, it's really cool having someone who's gone through a process here actually kind of helping us with the podcast thing, because we get that I call it an outsider's perspective, I guess, just the student's perspective, because as John often says, we're kind of in the grind doing this and repeating ourselves a lot, and so it's often stuff we'll overlook just because we repeat it so often. So, but we're excited for it. I'm pumped to kind of roll this stuff out and just see how it affects our student body.
Yeah, I know. I loved doing it through the winter. It gave me something to look forward to. When it gets cold, and getting to come play, even though it was a grueling torture to rechange my swing, it gave me something to look forward to every week to come and work on it.
I'm not that hard to work with, I hope.
But it gave me something to look forward to, and it was great because, like, in March, April, JT's just like, "Yeah, you need to go start playing now. Like, just go play." Wait, what? I get to go. Okay. And it was awesome. It was just cool to all of a sudden take all this stuff and get it out on the course and fail some rounds and other rounds come back in and go, okay, this worked, this didn't, and then look at it in video, and usually it was the same problem I had before, but I slipped again and like whatever. But just being able to then have spent all that time working on it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like actually doing a weightlifting program before you go to a competition as opposed to during.
Yeah.
Right? It works better if you're actually prepared.
Yeah. And it's also
shocking.
I know, it's so weird.
The progress is also there for the people that not just obviously put in the work, but follow the process properly. Yeah. There's plenty of evidence in scoring, because that's everyone's ultimate goal, is to lower their scores, right? And so they want to be a better player, and if you follow that process well, there's often a significant drop in scoring and just overall, course acumen.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not measurable. It just feels slow sometimes because, golf is hard and it's hard to learn these concepts.
Yeah.
Well, we're very distractible these days, so I want it now. I mean, if I could order a better score on Amazon, I would.
Well,
learn how to chip and putt.
That's why we're in the wrong business. We should be selling training aids. Yeah.
I always think of
quick way to make $1 million. Sell 1 million training aids for $1.
My favorite golf movie of all time is Tin Cup, and I always think of him with the little thing on his hat. And
oh yeah,
right. I love that movie.
Yeah, I quote that all the time. Training aids are tools for lost and desperate souls.
Yes.
That needs to be a sign in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Even though we have a couple.
That's a favorite.
But that's a classic.
It's my favorite. I might have to go watch it. It's been a while.
Yeah. Good call.
I love Cheech.
What do you think you look like hitting them chili peppers up Lee Jansen's ass?
I often think about the fact that I should stop thinking. Yes. Pretty much. Well, that's cool. I'm excited to see the new programs in October. There'll be some good stuff. And if you're thinking about it, get in for the swing analysis. Kind of get a baseline.
Everyone starts there.
And then start looking for these programs. Like, you kind of take the guesswork out of it. Like, what's the process to get better? Well, pick one. Here's some.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, pick the one that works best for you. And I love that, because I don't think I don't think most of us really think about a full process. We just think about the next step. And
Yeah.
so the fact that you guys are laying it out, I think that's really great.
Thank you.
So
And get ready for our tournament at Falcon Lakes.
Yeah. 9/27.
I'm trying to shift work things so I can figure out how to go. I don't know that I'm going to be successful, but
It's a Friday. You're sick.
You're gonna get sick.
You're gonna get sick.
Nothing productive happens on a Friday anyway.
Right.
We also need to say a big thanks to Duke for playing host for us.
Yes.
and helping
So
us
much
out
fun
for this
having you here,
podcast.
dude.
He's
I like
he's a
hanging out.
natural, absolute natural.
hanging
Yep.
out.
And we need him
That's-
badly so that we can grow our follower count to 10
Speaking of
maybe.
process,
I figured the more I'm around you guys, the better I should get. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it actually.
I don't know about that.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah. We're appreciative.
We'll
you're
give
here.
you our best effort.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Great. Well, season 2 is a long season, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it is, but
Yeah.
well, we're gonna have some fun stuff. I know you're working on some guests. I know we've
Yep.
got some cool topics coming up.
Right.
I think Bryson's coming on one of the episodes, right?
DeChambeau? That's
No,
news
it's,
to me.
it's a different
okay.
Bryson.
Bryson
yeah.
Miller, freshman at Parkhill
yeah.
South.
Yeah.
I got a Bryson I'm working with. I don't. That'll be a clickbait episode. Yeah, I won't reveal their names yet, but we got some guests in the pipeline ready to come on, and it'll be fun. Maybe some former guests and some new ones, but yeah, we're just excited for this new format of this, and honestly, we've all been itching to get back to it. It's just such a fun to kind of sit and
We just didn't know how
explore
to do it on our own.
creativity. Yeah,
Yeah.
Why we needed Duke.
we're just lost and desperate souls,
We're total lost and desperate.
We just needed football season.
and we really forgot beer this time.
If they
around,
had
so-
training aids for podcasts, we'd have them. If that was a thing.
totally.
I think that's called
There's
paying
a
an
process
editor.
to podcasts.
Yes.
Oh, well, we eat that up, so
Right, absolutely.
we're all about it.
Oh my gosh.
bet.
Well, if you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe to all the things because we definitely have more fun coming.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
And, it's going to be a fun season.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.